G'day Hammerheads, how's it going? So Christmas has come early down here in Australia. We've got the new Tiny Makita rotary hammer before almost anyone else. I think New Zealand got it before us and actually a fair bit of Asia. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new DHR 183. That's this little guy here. And I'm also going to be comparing it to these two old favourites of mine. The 171 and the 182. And then I thought, you know what, this bench is not teal enough. So why don't we bring in the whole gang and let's take a look at the 12 volt ones as well. So it's going to be mini Makita madness around here. Or is it going to be teal, tiny teal tap? Quick recap of the 12 volt guys. We have seen these guys in their own video before, so go check that out if you like. Now obviously these guys look very similar, but basically it's a brushed versus a brushless. So we got BL on the brushless one, we got a bit of a bigger chin on the brushed one, and if we take a listen to them, sounds pretty brushed versus brushless. And here we've got the DHR 171, the absolute stalwart, slow and steady favourite of ours, and that is basically the 18 volt version of the 160. They look pretty much identical, but the bigger battery is the way to tell them apart. So the new guy and the star of this episode is the DHR 183, and you can see it's a slightly slimmed down version of the 171. They're both 18 volts, they're both drop motors, they both have some kind of vibration dampening handle, although that's a different style. But if we take off the battery, basically the new guy has a smaller profile in order to fit a dust extractor on there. And if we gun the engine with a little telltale on there, you can see that there is air just gushing out of here. So it's designed to use the drill's motor fan, which is, yeah, you know, nice and efficient. So when you run them, you'll notice there's a big difference in speed versus. And if we measure that with our little tacho, you get 1080, just under 1100. Wait, what? Versus about 670. So revving almost twice as fast for the new guy. Now the slow revving of this guy means that it is a really nice one-handed tool. It still hits pretty hard, still drills pretty fast, but because it's revving nice and slow, it's really easy to control. Unlike the old friend of the show, DHR 182, an absolute champion of a little drill, which is designed to be two-handed really. The pistol grip is, you know, fairly comfortable for a small drill. You wouldn't want it to be much bigger. It's fine drilling upwards with one hand, but really for most purposes you want to be holding it around there, not up here. And so really this is designed to be a two-handed drill. She revs much faster and hits a bit harder as well. So about 1340 revs. So slow revving, faster, and fastest. Now the DHR 182 is one of the absolute best hammers out there. Pound for pound, she hits as hard as much bigger drills and yet is super light. Also 3-mode, so you get the hammer action as well. Also designed to work with the dust extractor. So all these little Makitas have a hammer like this. You've got to actually be pressing the drill against something before that hammering will catch on. So inside here there's a drive shaft with a little dog clutch on there. Kind of looks like a tiny version of the inside of an impact driver, and basically that'll engage the drive shaft when you actually press, and that sort of thing is meant to protect the striker in there against dry hammering. Alright, so let's look at the specs. Here are all our contenders here in bold, and the new guy isn't out in the Americas yet, so doesn't actually have a different name yet. And come on Makita, why? What's with the two names? Super annoying. Anyway, go ahead and pause it now if you want to go through all this, but I'll just draw your attention to the new guy versus the pistol grip. They're both the same capacity. They both have the same impact energy, supposedly, and the impact rate. So in theory, the impact power is going to be the same for these guys. So according to Makita, they should drill about the same speed. Now, here's the kicker. The new guy revs slower than the pistol grip, so I don't actually know how they've managed that, because if they've got the same hammer mechanism inside there, revving slower should mean lower impact and also fewer impacts per minute. So pretty keen to see how that works out. All right, so that's enough yapping. Let's get drilling. So as usual, the first test for the tiny rotary hammers is a pretty realistic one for them. That's 8mm or about 1/3 inch. Going to be drilling in 80mm into 32 MPa concrete. And for this video, just so we can keep track of everything, we've got the 12 volt guys up first in this order, brushed, brushless. And then in this order for the 18 volts, 171, 183, 182. Alrighty, so let's take a look at that speed test. So I've turned all the colors down except for the teals, so they really pop out. And we'll notice that basically these guys are in order of impact size. So kind of what you'd expect, except the new guy and the pistol, a little bit of a difference there, 2 seconds. So 7.03 seconds averaging up a few of those runs versus 9. So, you know, for two drills which supposedly have the same specs, not quite getting there. One thing I do notice with this test is small drills like this, they really don't have much room on the side, so they tend to get pretty tight, which is a shame because little hammers are designed for drilling little holes, but the dust just jams that right up. So it's a bit of a quandary for the designers. If you make it too torquey, it's gonna, you know, get away from you. If you make it not torquey enough, then it'll struggle with these guys. Not usually a problem because I'm drilling downwards in one motion. Shouldn't really happen if you're drilling sideways or drilling upwards, but hey, I'll leave that up to you. Now the new guy was a bit faster than its predecessor. No surprises there, the little 12 volts are down the bottom of the pack, but of course in front of the Milwaukee. Oh boy. So next test is something every single one of my rotary hammers goes through, 12 by 80mm, and this test is great for ranking all the rotary hammers together. So that's a really common size, it's just under 1/2 inch if that's your language, and if you're installing stuff like that, like I do, that's going to be your size. Alright, and the 12mm speed drill, how did they go? Well, as we know, that pistol grip is an absolute little terror, solidly outperforming a lot of bigger hammers in this test. Always amazes me, this little guy. Now the new Makita, about 20% slower than that, came in around here. So this is actually at the start of the pack of the compact. So here we've got all the 16s and 18s right at the start of that, so it's not exactly performing as advertised the same as this one, but it is leading the pack in terms of all the tiny hammers. And our final test is the max capacity drill. So this is the big equalizer. The max capacity, if you're not familiar, is basically what the manufacturer rates the tool to be able to drill every so often. It's not going to like it, it's not going to do it really fast, but you know, they figure it can drill up to that size every so often without, you know, needing to go to warranty. So in this case, we've got 14mm, 16mm, 17mm, and 18mm going on. So each of these drills is going to be drilling its maximum rated size. Same concrete, same depth. I really like this test because it mixes things up, but then it's also like testing what does the manufacturer actually reckon the drill can handle. And if we look at this grouping with all the teals in here, just beautiful. So to me this is saying that Makita's, whatever method they use to work out the maximum capacity of these things is really consistent. They're really doing a nice job of looking at, the impact force, the IPM, I guess the torque as well, and really mapping these out nicely. Obviously we've got this freak out here. I mean, they could easily rate that as a 22mm hammer, I reckon. But these guys, they all seem really consistent. So I do like that result. And of course, these guys are drilling smaller holes, so they do tend to go faster because the surface area of the hole they're drilling rises more than the impact force. So there you go, hammerheads. After running the gamut of the sort of drilling you might want to do with one of these little guys, I'm not quite sure why they've rated this hammer the exact same specs as this guy, but she clearly doesn't drill as fast. Maybe this one's overrated, maybe this one's rated right. I'm not really sure, but I think we've demonstrated pretty well that the new guy is basically a faster revving version of the 171 rather than a drop motor version of the 182. And you know what? I'm perfectly happy with that. This one is a fair bit heavier. It is designed to be a two-handed tool, so I think the motor in here is actually a fair bit bigger, whereas this one has the same motor as the old drop motor, but they're basically just driving it faster. So you drive the motor faster, you're going to be running that hammer faster, it's going to be hitting harder, so you'll end up with more impact force than the slower one. Conversely, as your motor runs faster, it'll have less torque. So I think Makita has had plenty of customer feedback that, you know what, that one's fine, but let's just make it drill a little faster. So there you go, guys, from Tiny Team Teal and I. Thanks for watching. Hope this has been good. And, like and subscribe and all that YouTube stuff. And thanks for watching, and I'll scratch you later. Sweetie, get out of the way. I'm trying to do a thumbnail.